I really wanted to watch this one, Gaming's Unnecessary Obsession with Graphics, because I feel it on a spiritual level. Cause yeah, I feel like and especially probably more so with AAA games, I feel like they are just absolutely obsessed with graphics instead of making an actual good game. So yeah, let's see.
The first
Oh my
game I
god.
ever laid my eyes upon looked like this. And then my brother got one of these bad boys. It
Oh
was there where I
man.
found my love of the beautiful Super Nintendo pixel graphics. Oh my gosh.
Hell yeah.
Then
Hell yeah. I don't know what it is, but I love pixel graphics. Exactly, Sin. I don't know what it is, but pixel graphics just make me so happy. So happy. Doesn't help when buyers also want graphics over actual quality. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Because then you'll have them being like, oh my god, this game looks like such shit. And I'm like, okay, but it's a really good game, so what does it matter? What does it matter?
and then we entered the third dimension. Now every
Hell
game
yeah.
was polygonal heaven, baby. So many triangles. Link has a triangle nose, triangle hair, triangle muscles, triangle boobas that gave me my first triangle boner.
Oh my gosh. That's true. Oh my god. I remember thinking these were like so the graphics, I was like blown away. I was like, damn, it looks so good. It looks so good. Oh, Sin, I had said that I also love pixel graphics. Like, I don't know what it is, but I do. I hate pixel graphics. It's harder to shoot something. Well, yeah, it's fine. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. I'm joking. I like pixel graphics, okay? No, don't leave. I actually need you. I actually need you here. Don't leave. Please. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What? I spent an unhealthy amount of hours just fucking around with
Oh
Mario's
my god,
3D
yes.
ass face. Too many times I would just go to Hyrule Field and bask at the giant,
At the time.
world I was about to explore, and all I could think was, games are real now, man. To now, where in such a short amount of time, games have reached a point where at times I'll question whether this is a cutscene from a video game or like a real scene from some like random movie.
Literally. Same. Literally same. Sometimes I'm like, wait, are these real people or no? I don't really know.
Video game graphics have reached a point where they can almost mimic real life, which helps us connect to that much more. And I think that's amazing. But I am a YouTuber, so of course I got some to complain about. Because games use graphics, looking real or pushing as many polys as possible as a benchmark for the overall progression of games,
Hold on, guys.
both the video
Okay.
game companies and the fans have put this huge obsession with graphics to the forefront. Every new big game release has to look like the return of Christ, and simultaneously look better than the last game, which was also considered to be the best looking game that was the return of Christ. It has to
Wait, was that Charlie? Is that is that Charlie? Oh my god, I love it. I love it. The first one was too. Oh my god, I didn't even notice. That's too freaking funny. I don't think I have an arrive emote either, actually. Oh shit, I don't. No arriving, only leaving, apparently.
Best looking game that was the return of Christ. It has to push as many polygons as the newest console can push. It has to have infinite teraflops and terabops and those other words that Xbox fans say that makes their console better, but they don't actually understand. Why should we even have this environment where companies are pushing?
Okay, is that a game character? Keanu? Like, I'm even right now questioning this. There was a time Facebook moms were being fooled by pics of Charlie as Jesus. Oh my gosh.
Pushing graphics as their big selling point for a game versus, I don't know, great gameplay, great story, great atmosphere. You know, the reason you play a game, you know, to play the game. They're not movies. Well, actually, some of them kind of are like movies. Huh? Pretty recently, I was checking out this presentation of
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring.
Oh, Elden Ring.
I like this guy. I'm subscribing to him.
a game I'm so endlessly hyped to play because FromSoft never lets me down with these games. Myself and a lot of the internet just couldn't wait to play this game and have our assholes fisted and cleaned out by a bunch of the punishing enemies. Well, that was except for a vocal minority. Some people were complaining that the game, graphic-wise, wasn't looking that good, and that Demon Souls, the game before that for the PS5, looked a lot better. This really showed me that not only do I think these people don't fully understand game making, but also that these people have an obsession with graphics.
What? They look the same. I'm confused. I'm confused.
And this obsession of graphics would have made sense to me back in the we're trying shit in 3D era. When I first saw games go from these adorable pixel graphics to this, all I could think was, you know, is it real? Am I in the game? Am I in there? Because this was actually a huge leap for graphics.
Yeah.
So I completely understand being obsessed with graphical fidelity, at least at this time. But pretty much after the PS4 and Xbox One era where games looked like this, those leaps in graphics got less and less, and it never reached the same substantial leap as this again. So it felt weird to me that even today that people still care so much about graphics. Graphics altogether kind of stopped impressing me because they had reached a point that I was content with. Graphics started...
Yeah, I mean, like, how would you get any better than this? Unless you start inserting actual humans in there and stuff.
Having a lot more diminishing returns, and ultimately I think people would agree that gameplay and story and all the other things about games are a little bit more important. But my fellow gamers, today your favorite shitty internet roommate isn't talking about, you know, that gameplay or story is more important than graphics. I think that's obvious. Today I want to show you that just because a game might have worse graphics, it doesn't inherently make that game worse looking than a game with better graphics. But also that we shouldn't be worried about, does this game have the best looking graphics? Does it push the most polygons? Does it have fucking ray tracing? We should be looking at what game has the better or your personal favorite art style. Is that game's aesthetic unique? Does it work? Does it have a good sense of art direction? These are the factors that I think should merit if a game looks good. Now, I'm not...
Yeah, because, like, when you say graphics and then you take Zelda and you're like, oh, these graphics are so bad compared to Elden Ring. No, it's just a different art style.
Not gonna say I'm any less of a doo-doo head when it comes to game development, as those Demon Souls looks better people I criticized, but I do watch a lot of Matthew Matosis, and one time he said, games aren't ever really finished, they're just kind of stopped because there's only a certain amount of time that they have before they have to release them. So usually with these time constraints, developers have to pick and choose what they want to focus on in a game the most and the least. To give that vocal minority complaining credit, they were right. Demon Souls, graphically, does look better than Elden Ring. That new Demon Souls was a remake, so they already had a lot of the work done. They had a lot more time to focus on making the game look as graphically high poly as possible, versus Elden Ring, which is a brand new game with brand new designs. So they sacrifice graphical fidelity, as they tend to do.
Oh, I see what he's talking about. I see. Okay.
So then
Yeah, because like when you're making a brand new game, you don't really have the time to focus on making it look as good if you want to make it be a good game. Versus when you're doing a remake, well, you already have that base with the graphics, so now you can improve them because you don't have to spend so much time to just improve them versus actually making them, sort of thing.
in turn, they could focus on the things that Souls players really care about. The world, the gameplay, and the bosses. For example, I'm sure you've all played that one game that has highly realistic looking graphics, but the gameplay is just terrible and agonizing.
Yeah.
That's right. It's real life. Hell yeah. And more importantly, despite Elden Ring being less graphically impressive as Demon Souls, I would say Elden Ring looks better because of its art style and art direction. Because most of Demon Souls is just grays upon grays upon grays. Which is fine if you like that, but with Elden Ring, not only do you have some of the most unique monster designs yet,
What the hell is that? Oh my god.
but also some of the most beautiful vistas that at times look like fucking paintings. And also because of the art direction,
Damn.
Elden Ring probably has the most diverse color palette of all of the Souls series yet. Just look at this almost watercolor blue across the sky. Or this forest that's this burnt yellow, almost orange color. And how
Yeah, that's true. I don't remember like the Dark Souls and stuff having that much color. Find Tears of the Kingdom to be pretty. Yeah, I do too. Big dev, we don't have enough money in our budget for better graphics. Indie game creator with no budget. Hold my beer. Yeah, exactly. Okay, Crimson. I'll check it out after this one.
at almost at any point of the land you can see this giant golden tree. It's stuff like this that to me makes Elden Ring look more visually pleasing than the Demon Souls remake, despite not having as good of graphical fidelity. Because to me, art direction can elevate a game past a point that graphical fidelity alone just can't reach. You look at a game like Lords of the Fallen, it's pretty much a diet, gluten-free Dark Souls because it pretty much does everything Dark Souls does, but worse. Especially in the look department. It was made in 2014, so it has a few years ahead of Souls, giving it a higher graphical fidelity. But why is it that none of this game looks memorable? Because unlike Souls, there's no art direction. The whole
It seems very stiff, the movement.
game is just generic medieval fantasy thrown up. Meanwhile, Souls games always strive for a specific art direction. It almost looks picturesque at times, or like a painting. Like this subtle shot of Oscar just laying in the rubble as a beam of light just shines on him. You can frame this. Souls games give you locations you can't get anywhere else. Sure, Last of Us 2 or any modern AAA game looks more graphically realistic than any of the Souls games.
Yeah, but like, I don't care about that. I don't care about that.
But you know what I can't get in those games? This mystifying blue beach that's basically under the entire world, hidden away, and the sand is made of ash, and then there's these broken, hollow trees just sticking up everywhere. A skyscape that's filled with these dragons just flying everywhere.
Damn.
There's these bridges that lead you to this huge dragon shrine. Literally, all of Bloodborne. which perfectly depicts and fuses all these various aesthetics. You got Gothic architecture, you got Victorian London settings, you got beasts, you got Lovecraft horror,
Damn.
all in this one game. This is
Yeah, Bloodborne was good. I had fun with that one. Ash Lake is a banger. You stop paying attention to graphics in Souls games when you die. When you die for the 9,158,000,000,000,000th time. Yeah, true. I never had that problem though, because I just got Jello to kill everything for me and I just ran around.
This is why art direction is so important. It makes games visually stand out and be more memorable. This idea that the only way to judge how good a game's visuals are is basing off its graphical fidelity is one of the most tired-ass ideas in gaming. Elden Ring, you're getting these inspired visuals you can't get anywhere else. A fucking hellscape that looks like it was painted by Bosch's asshole itself. Any game can strive to look the most real.
That just creeps me out.
But not every game can create an aesthetic or an art style that's solely unique to itself. There's only so many times that I can run through a realistic looking city and get hard from that. But make that city destroyed and covered in fauna or just submerged in this hazy sandstorm. That is unique. That.
Yeah, like when I play a game, like I want to be like in a magical world and fancy, and I mean that's my style of game. You know, everyone has their preferences. But like, yeah, I know what he means.
I can't get anywhere else. That is art direction. Sure, the newest Call of Duty is more expensive looking and pushes more polygons and is probably more graphically impressive than something like BioShock, but which one of these games visually is more memorable to you? I'm gonna guess BioShock.
Yeah.
Because while yes, this looks closer to real life, I know what real life looks like. I see that shit every day. So visually it ends up being boring. There's nothing for me to grab onto.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in BioShock, you got this Art Deco, that's a word I had to look up by the way, 50s city submerged in water. It's a dystopian horror with a steampunk flair. That is unique. That is something I can only get here. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're telling me graphics are what matter, then you're also telling me the newest Call of Duty or the newest NBA game or Detroit Become Human are better looking than Breath of the Wild. And sure, these games definitely look more real, but Breath of the fucking Wild, it looks like a beautiful, whimsical...
Oh man, I played the absolute hell out of Breath of the Wild. I loved that game. I don't want to play it again, to be honest. But I need to play Tears of the Kingdom still. Holy shit.
Ghibli film. It has like this perfect mix of the cell shading from Wind Waker and like the more realistic look of Twilight Princess. It's so good. It's so good. Look at this. Just oh my god. And this constant push for more and more high poly realistic looking graphics has pushed out older aesthetics or just different attempts at an art style. It makes
I did not get all the Korok seeds. I gave up. I gave up.
it so that for the most part a great looking game has to be this highly realistic looking high poly AAA game. 9 times out of 10 when you pair two games together and one is going for the art style route while the other is going for the highly realistic route, this game will be considered better looking simply because its graphical fidelity is higher. I don't hear enough credit to the newest Guilty Gear or Dragon Ball FighterZ and how they basically perfected the art style of making an anime in motion. A perfect mixing of digital 3D animation and traditional animation to make a basically 90s aesthetic anime in motion. And you know I love that shit. Cuphead perfectly mimicked that rubber hose 30s and 20s cartoon aesthetic. It's fucking Steamboat Willie, the game. Okami is probably one of the most beautiful looking games I've ever.
Oh, I started playing Okami, and that's another game that I never finished. I need to finish that too. God dang it.
seen. It looks like somebody took all the things that I love and, please my eyes and make me go, ooh, I love that, and it pleases my eyes, and took all those feelings and fused them into a big fat nut for my eyes. And they didn't achieve that through having the most high poly graphics. They achieved it through art direction and art style. It's got this Japanese watercolor and wood carving.
Yeah, I loved the freaking art in this. Oh my god, it was amazing.
Art aesthetic. It gives a similar vibe to those paintings of the Edo period of Japan. More specifically, the works of Katsushika Hakusai. Cell shading graphics are something that always called to me. Ultimate Spider-Man is still a great looking game because it went for a comic book aesthetic and it nails it perfectly. It didn't try to look as real as it could and perfect. Not that that's a bad thing. I like that. But I can also like this too. Jet Set Radio still looks fucking amazing. It's cool. It's got this cel-shaded kind of street punk hip-hop aesthetic, and it's got this world that's this loud, graffiti-filled concrete jungle of fun. But if I tell someone, hey, I think this looks better than this, then I look crazy because of the perception of a great-looking game, when it isn't crazy at all. This just has a style, while this doesn't. And plus, when a lot of your focus is on making a game look as impressive and imperfect and realistic as the current graphics can make it, in some years, those graphics will age. But art style, art direction, this,
true,
that is timeless. To this day, Wind Waker looks great because unlike other games that were chasing the best graphics they can get, it chose art style. It reminds me of a beautiful Sunday morning cartoon that you'd wake up to watch with a bowl of cereal in hand. Just the colors alone, the blues of the great sea and the greens of the grass all glaze over my eyes and just put me in this comfy mood. This is why indie games work so well. Because they're usually made by one or a few people, they literally don't have the choice to make a big expensive game. So they have to rely on things like art style, thus creating some of the most gorgeous, unique-looking games out there that still have great gameplay. The experience of playing through the sun-soaked desert wastelands of Journey is
damn. I have this game too, but I think I have it for like the PlayStation, but I never played it yet. I never played it yet. Okay, one day I will maybe get to it.
Something I will never forget. The dark crypts and overgrown fauna and rain-soaked cities of Hollow Knight create a visual experience that I cannot have anywhere else but here. Final Fantasy XIV became the most popular MMO ever after some drastic changes. Its original version failed, and one of the many reasons brought up by the director Naoki Yoshida was the unhealthy obsession with graphical fidelity. He brings up this one specific flower pot in the game, and he calls it the loveliest flower pot in any MMO. But then he explained the cost of that lovely flower pot. It basically contained over 1,000 polygons and like 150 lines of shader code. Took up as many resources as a single player character. And in order to make these heavily detailed graphics work, the team had to compromise things that go completely against what players want from MMOs.
What the hell? Why would you ever think that would be a good idea?
To get those high graphics, they had to limit the number of players that can be in a single area to just 20. This let the game look beautiful, but it lost that amazing feeling of logging onto an MMO and seeing a bunch of other shitheads just like you running around.
Oh my god, I loved seeing conglomerations like this. It was just insane.
Around wasting their lives all day. And though the original version might look slightly better than the new one, all the areas were mostly empty and took up so much of the processing power. So it's no surprise when they gave up on this idea of making the graphics as high fidelity as possible and focused more on the things MMO players want, the game blew up. I hope stories like
when you go in and you want to play an MMO, you want to play with people. So yeah, obviously you want to see a lot of people.
Like this can show other gaming companies that for modern games, you don't need to focus so much on...
Unless you're me, I don't like I get in an MMO and I'm like, leave me alone. I'm playing by myself.
Graphics. Your game doesn't need to have the most insane graphics
Wow.
that a game can have. It doesn't need to push the most terra tops. Too many modern AAA games are focusing on perfect, on real, when they should be striving for something unique. To
Damn.
create something that you can only get here. I guess my hope with all this is that people in the future will worry a lot less about graphical fidelity and focus more on things like art direction and art style. Not every game needs it. Some people really do like their highly realistic games, and that's fine, but I don't want every modern AAA game to be that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
want to see variety. And also the game companies will hopefully start using more time on gameplay, story, atmosphere, setting, instead of wasting all their time trying to make games look as perfect as Georgia Smith. Because, let's be honest, that's impossible.
What?
That's how you end a fucking video. Woo! It's 5 a.m. Please, in the comments, tell me some of your favorite aesthetics for a game, the games you think are the most beautiful and pleasing to your eyes. And as always, if you like what I do, you can give me a like and a subscribe. I'd appreciate it. I don't know. I love you, I guess.